Hi guys, welcome to week 4. This is the second part of today's session, which is going to be a Unit 1 test review for pre-calculus. So your week 4 essential question is going to ask you to submit your answer to number 18 from the practice worksheet to the Dropbox. So we're going to do number 18 together today in this session, and you will turn your answer into the Dropbox to earn your points for week 4. So what I'm doing is I'm taking questions from your practice assignment and I'm just going to change the numbers slightly. So here is number 11 on the practice assignment. We are going to do a similar problem that asks you to find sine theta equals 6/7. So by the time I demonstrate this for you, you should be able to go back to your practice worksheet and complete it easily. So let's try this first one. It says if sine theta equals 6/7 and theta is acute, find cotangent theta. So the first thing we want to do is let's draw a picture. So it tells us that it's acute. So if here's my theta and it's telling me sine equals 6/7, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So here's my opposite, here's my hypotenuse. It wants me to find cotangent. So cotangent is the same as 1 over tangent, which means adjacent over opposite. So I need to know my adjacent side right here. So let's go ahead and use Pythagorean Theorem because we know in the unit circle, we can always use the unit circle for problems like this, which is pretty fabulous. And we know that our triangles are always 90 degrees. So that means I can use Pythagorean Theorem. So 6 squared plus x squared equals 7 squared. Let's get x by itself. So my x is going to be plus or minus root 13, but distance can't be negative. So that means I can automatically cross off my negative root 13. That's not going to be my answer. So x is going to be my positive root 13. So if I want cotangent, now I'm going to write my adjacent over opposite. So cotangent theta equals adjacent root 13 over opposite 6. All right, so you would do the same thing for the actual number 11 on your worksheet. It would be set up the same way, in the same manner. Okay, let's try the next one. This one is similar to number 12 on your worksheet. Number 12 says convert this into decimal degrees to the nearest 2 decimal places. So the example I'm going to do with you says 32 degrees, 10 minutes, 41 seconds. So the way that we solve these problems is we're going to take our whole degrees and we add that to our minutes, and minutes go 10 over 60 because there's 60 minutes in an hour. And then seconds, I'm going to put my seconds over 3,600 because there's 3,600 seconds in an hour. So by the time I type all of that in to a calculator, I'm going to get 32.178. But since it says to 2 decimal places, that means I'm rounding to the 100th place. It would be 32.18 degrees. As we go along, if you have any questions, make sure you guys send me a K-mail. This one's similar to number 14 on the practice worksheet. We're going to convert from degrees into radians. So we're going to take 132 degrees, and we're going to multiply that by, you kind of have 2 choices. You have pi radians over 180 degrees, or we have 180 degrees over pi radians. These are always your 2 conversions that you're going to use, depending on if you start with a degree or if you start with a radian. Thinking back to what we know about what's allowed to cross off in fractions, if I have degrees on top to begin with, which part of my fraction needs degrees if I want the degrees to go away? Because I'm trying to get it into radians. So if degrees are on top, degrees would need to be on the bottom. So the appropriate fraction for this case would be pi radians divided by 180 degrees. So the degrees cross out with the degrees, which is really nice. And 132 divided by 180 gives me 0.73 pi radians. So I'm not quite done yet. I now need to multiply 0.73 times pi. So you guys can use the approximation of 3.14, and I'm going to get 2.29 radians. So whenever you're converting for degrees or for radians, you're going to be using one of these two. And the one you're going to use, it just depends on what you start with. So if you start with degrees, you need degrees on the bottom. If I started with radians, I'd need the radians to be on the bottom. So that way those could cancel out with each other. Our next one is number 18 from the practice worksheet. And for this example, we are going to do the actual problem number 18. So it says if sine theta equals 4 over 5 and theta is in quadrant 2, what is the value of tangent theta? Okay, so it tells us it's in quadrant 2. So here's quadrant 1, here's quadrant 2. So I know I'm going to have some kind of a triangle, so I go ahead and draw that in. Now sine. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite would be 4, hypotenuse would be 5. It wants the value of tangent. So tangent theta is opposite over adjacent. So I don't know my adjacent. I need to find my adjacent. So let's try that one together. So how am I going to find x? I'm going to use Pythagorean Theorem. So let's move the 16 to the other side. So I'm going to get that my x is 3. So the three sides of my triangle are 3, 4, 5. So what would you have for tangent theta? At first, doesn't it look like I would just have my opposite was 4, my adjacent is 3? This would be correct if we were talking quadrant 1. But I don't want quadrant 1. I want quadrant 2. So if we are looking here in not quadrant 1, quadrant 2, what are these values? So it's not really, the distance is a 3, but since it's to the left and it's in quadrant 2, what kind of a 3 is it? It's really a -3. So my tangent theta would be -4 over 3. And again, that's only because it wanted quadrant 2. For instance, if we talk about what point is this point is -3, 4. Hopefully everybody's okay with that. So when it tells you what quadrant it's in, we really have to pay attention to my x and my y values and if they are positive or negative depending on what quadrant they are in. So this is the answer that I would like you to put in the drop box for week 4. So again, the essential question for week 4 is just to submit your answer from number 18 to the Dropbox. So thanks guys, I hope that this was a really quick review for you. Please spend the rest of this week studying and completing your practice worksheet. That's really going to tell you whether or not you are prepared for your test. Once you turn your practice worksheet in, I write you back in the Dropbox and I attach the answer key for you. So you don't get the answers ahead of time to the practice worksheet. You have to try all of them first and turn it in. Once it's turned in, then I provide you with the answer keys to check your work. So again, the practice worksheets are extra credit. It's the only way to earn extra credit in Pre-Calc and it's worth 10 points. So best of luck to you guys. I know that you will do great for your test on